So today we're out in the woods in North Florida, and I'm super excited for today's video, guys, because this is something that I've been waiting for a long time. Behind me here, I've got my 22 Ford Maverick XLT Ecoboost with the FX4 off-road package and the 4K towing package. And today marks the first video in a series of videos where we're gonna start the build on the Overland setup on the 22 Ford Maverick. And what we're gonna focus on today is potentially one of the most important things on any Overland rig, and that's gonna be the tires. The stock tires that come on the FX4 off-road package are advertised as all-terrains, and they are the Pirelli Scorpion ATR tires. Now, I actually have a almost brand new set of tires that I picked up off Facebook Marketplace, and they're actually the Scorpion all-terrain plus tires. So it's the exact same tire, but it's the upgraded plus version that has a more aggressive tread pattern made for, you know, a little bit more off-road conditions. And more importantly, it also has you know, a sidewall tread, which the ATRs that come stock on the Maverick FX4 does not have at all. We're gonna put these old tires to the test. These are the stock Pirelli Scorpion ATRs that come on the FX4 Mavericks, and we're gonna run these through some mud and ruts. We're gonna run them through some sand, some sticky clay. We're gonna try to climb over some stuff, and nothing too serious. I mean, let's be real, guys. This is a Ford Maverick. It's not a Tacoma. It's not a big lifted Jeep. It's not made for serious off-roading, but I wanna see what we can do with these stock tires. And tomorrow, I have an appointment to get the new tires swapped onto the wheels. So we're gonna come back out here with those new tires on and put it through the exact same conditions, climb over the same obstacles, through the same sand pits, and we're gonna see what the difference is, and we're gonna compare the two tires. Anyway, guys, we've got the truck here. We've been ripping through some stuff already. I'm not gonna lie, I did some filming before actually filming this intro just because we were having fun. So we already got some mud and sand and stuff on the truck, but let's go rip through some sand pits, find some mud, find some ruts, see if we can climb over some stuff, and put these stock Pirelli Scorpion ATRs to the test and see how good the stock tires really are, guys. So the first thing that we're gonna do, behind me right over here, we've actually got a pit that's just covered in like this like super soft clay, just really chunky stuff. There's some gravel mixed in, lots of sand. And then there's a covering of leaf debris over the top of it that's just super slippery. And we're just gonna see how it handles this super slick terrain climbing up this hill. And then on the back side over here, this trail kind of wraps around this tree back here behind me. There's an even deeper sand pit that already has some ruts run through it. The sand is super loose up there, super deep. So we're gonna run the truck around that corner, and we're just gonna see how it performs through this stuff. So let's run it up through the sand and see what happens, guys. All right, let's do this. Put our seatbelt on for safety, since we're doing some extreme, crazy off-roading. Let's get it, guys. All right, so we are coming in right now, and I'm gonna slow it down because I don't want to just burn through it at top speed. That doesn't really prove that the tires are crap. It just kind of shows that we can floor it through a sand pit. And we're gonna climb up. Oh yeah, tires are definitely slipping through that sand pit. It definitely wasn't like horrendous. The truck didn't really have like too much of a problem, but the tires definitely were slipping quite a bit coming through that sand. You could hear those leaves spinning around the tires. But let's continue on. We're coming into the deep sand pit around this little bend now. So we're gonna get right into that deep sand. Let her sink in. Oh, I can feel those tires sinking. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Woo-hoo. Well, we ended up doing a little bit of a drift there and kind of having to floor it. I felt it sinking in a little bit there. It definitely, that one was definitely worse than the first one. Still didn't really have a problem getting through it. But I did have to floor it because I felt like we were gonna sink just a little bit if I didn't. But yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Definitely a lot of slippage, especially on the leaves on the first one. And then on that second one, it started sinking into the sand, and I think a lot of that can be contributed to, you know, how narrow the stock tires are as well. But overall, they didn't do too bad. I'm not necessarily happy with them, and I think the new ones are gonna do a lot better. But for a first little, you know, super minor off-road test, wasn't too bad. Going through that sand and over those leaves and stuff, we got those tires spinning, and we could really feel just like, honestly, how crappy these Scorpion ATRs that come stock on the truck are for any off-roading, even little stuff like that. They don't do very well. But I do want to show you guys before we move on. So this is kind of what I was talking about here. If you guys take a look at these tires, with that clay and that mud and sand that we have down here, this stuff just cakes onto these tires so bad. And I mean, there's literally no tread left on that tire, and it's actually dried into the tread now, completely packed in there. And that's no good for any kind of off-road activity. So that's definitely a problem with these stock tires, and I'm excited to see how the upgraded Plus tires do in comparison to these. I think they're going to do a whole lot better. And then we're going to move on to the next obstacle that I want to try to go through with the truck. We're just going to get a little bit more extreme from here. We're going to kind of step it up a little bit, try some different things, and see how these stock tires really perform before we do the swap and see how the new ones perform. Look at that face. Look at that face. Look at that face.
Oh!
Look at that face. What a cutie. All right, so we're at the next little spot that I want to try out here, and I got most of that crap cleaned out of the tread, so hopefully we'll have like a little bit of grab with these stock tires. But this little spot that we're going to check out next is, it's not much, guys, but it's just this little hump right here with this super soft sand. There's lots of leaves again, lots of sticks and that kind of stuff. It's definitely nothing that this truck can't handle, but these tires are just, you know, they're not really up for that kind of thing. They're really just a street tire. So let's climb up this thing and let's see how these stock tires do in comparison to the new ones that we're gonna put on. So we're coming up on it right now. Again, I'm gonna take it slow so we're not just powering through it. I wanna actually see how the tires grip. But we're gonna climb. Oh, we're already slipping. Already slipping. I think, there we go. Oh, there it goes. Okay, all right. Woo, we did it. Yeah, so that was definitely a little bit underwhelming, guys. And I do want to point out, not that this is a test of the Maverick's abilities in and of itself, but I do want to point out that the Maverick actually did really, really well. While we had tons and tons of slippage with those tires, and we actually had a little bit of trouble getting up this tiny baby little hump here. The Maverick itself and its intelligent all-wheel drive system did absolutely fantastic. You guys could hear it kicking in, controlling power to the front and the rear tires. And I think at one point, one of the wheels actually came up off the ground. And that's actually one of the things that a lot of people don't like about the Maverick, is that it's actually a unibody design versus a truck, which is going to be a, you know, a body on frame traditional kind of setup, which is ideal for off-roading. You can do things like lifts and all that kind of stuff with it. But the Maverick being a unibody, part of the problem that you have is you're limited on what you can do with it off-road before you start lifting tires off the ground. And once you lift a tire off the ground, you're losing traction from that tire, which I think is part of the problem that we actually had here. But the Maverick's intelligent all-wheel drive system actually accounted for that, and you could actually hear and feel it doing so. And even though it started slipping for a little while there, eventually it figured it out and we were able to climb up. So that's an A+ for the Maverick. But not talking about the Maverick specifically, the tires themselves are shockingly bad in this situation. I mean, you guys can see how small of a feature this particular spot is. I mean, we've got this little ridge right here, super loose, like clay kind of sand, lots of loose leaves and grass on top of it. But just this little feature alone proved a little bit too much for those tires. I mean, you can see right here, looking at these marks, we were slipping all the way up, and there's actually some marks up here too, where I think that's where the tire actually came back down after it lifted off. And that's definitely, you know, kind of shocking that a feature this small is giving us problems with these tires. So I'm definitely interested to see how the ATR Plus tires from Pirelli will do when we come back and test them out on this. But stock tires on the FX4 package, the Pirelli ATRs, definitely a little bit questionable when it comes to off-roading, even something as light as this. So so far that seems to be the trend, and we're just going to get a little more extreme from here. The next thing that we're going to try is a very similar thing to this, where we're going to be climbing up something where we have loose sand, lots of loose debris on top of that loose sand, but it's actually a bit more than this. There's actually something that we have to climb up over. So we're going to take off down the trail, head out around the corner here, and we're going to get over there to that, and we're going to see how it does. And I think we're probably going to run into some issues getting up over that one, but fingers crossed. Let's see how it goes, guys. So this one here, I'm definitely a little bit more concerned about. Not like concerned, but this is gonna be probably the most difficult thing that we try to climb over today with these stock tires. And this isn't anything crazy again, guys, but it's definitely a lot more than what we've tried so far. So we've got a lot of loose gravel coming up this hill right here. Lots of like sand, gravel. We've got more of that sticky clay stuff underneath, and it's all kind of wet. It's been raining the past few days, so that could present a little bit of a problem. And then we've got tons and tons of just like loose leaves and all kind of stuff on the ground, acorns, pebbles. And then once we finally climb up all of this stuff and we get up to the top right here, we've got the problem of this. So there's some old, like what looks like maybe pavement or something right here. But there's a pretty decent lip on that we're gonna have to climb over. And then we have to climb up over this hump, which with the Maverick only having like just shy of 9 inches of ground clearance stock from the factory, I think it's definitely gonna present a problem. There's gonna be a lot more factors involved with this one. Ground clearance is gonna be a big issue. You know, how well the all-wheel drive system on the Maverick performs is gonna be an issue as well. But we're not focusing on that stuff. We're gonna be focusing on these tires, and we're gonna see when we come back with the new tires on, if it makes any kind of difference when paired with all that other kind of stuff. So I'm gonna hop in the truck, and then we're gonna try to climb up this and see if we can get over, and hopefully we don't get high centered or stuck or something. Let's see what happens. Alrighty guys, let's see how she does. I definitely am not too sure about this one, but we're gonna give it a go. A lot of things playing into this, like I said, a lot more than just the tires, but the tires are gonna play a huge part on what happens here. So we're coming up the hill. I'm gonna climb up the steeper, nastier part of the hill here first, just to see how that looks. We've got some slippage already. Come on. Oh, not too bad, actually, not too bad. All right, not too bad. All right, so that was not bad, actually. It came up that super loose stuff. Really easy, actually easier than those sand pits earlier, which I'm kind of shocked about. But now we are coming to the tough part here. This is gonna be actually having to climb up and over that hump. I definitely think we're gonna bottom out. I'm hoping that we don't high center. We don't have a lift or anything on this. Completely bone stock FX4 Maverick. So let's see how it does with stock tires, guys. I'm not too sure on this one, to be honest. We are already getting some slippage. Oh, okay. We got over the first one. Come on. Oh, there it is. It's scraping. It's scraping. Come on. Oh. I honestly, I'm kind of shocked. I'm kind of shocked that it did it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm kind of shocked that we made it over that. I honestly, when it got hung up there and those back tires started spinning with no weight or anything in the bed, and how light of a truck this is in the first place, I definitely thought that it was over and we were gonna have to back over that hump. But Maverick held its ground. I'm pretty impressed. Not that was like any extreme overlanding off-road terrain or anything, but not bad at all. Anti-lock brakes are like, nope. Hello, my lady. Would you like to get back in now?
I would.
So that is pretty much going to conclude our testing for today. And I gotta say, guys, while I'm super happy with how the Maverick did and how its intelligent all-wheel drive system did, I am super not happy with the Pirelli Scorpion ATRs that come stock on the FX4 package. Very, very underwhelming off-road all-terrain tire. I definitely think they could have done more with it based off of what I've seen today. And I think Ford could have done more with, you know, putting maybe a little bit of a better upgraded tire on the FX4 package. And I know what their reasoning is. They're trying to keep it cheap. It's a cheap vehicle. That's the entire point of it. They want people to be able to afford it. But if you're spending the extra money on the FX4 off-road package, I feel like you're willing to spend the extra money to, you know, get the better off-road tire. That's just my 2 cents on it. But I'm glad that we came out here and we tested that tire out. And I'm hoping that this information is going to be super useful to a lot of you guys that are maybe already Maverick owners, or maybe you put your order in, you're waiting on the truck and you're trying to make a plan for what you're going to do with your truck when it arrives. That's kind of why I'm putting this information out there, and I'm hoping that I can help some of you guys out with planning what you want to do with putting new tires on your Overland Mavericks. With that being said, did pretty good on that terrain behind us. I'm not gonna lie, I'm impressed with how the Maverick did, but we had a lot of slippage going up those leaves and through that sand, and then especially climbing up over that hump. We were spinning really bad. It's all just like super loose leaves and everything up on top of that thing. And then of course we did bottom out, which that's no fault of the tire. We're just super low ground clearance on the Maverick, so not a big deal there. We made it up and over, but I think we could have made it up and over a lot better if we had a new tire on this truck. So tomorrow, these tires are going to get switched out for those Pirelli Scorpion ATR Plus, and we're going to come back to this spot and do the exact same 3 tests that we did, and maybe even some more stuff. If there's some like actual mud that day that we come back, maybe we'll run it through some actual mud pits and stuff. There isn't too much mud out here today, unfortunately. And we're going to see how it does, and we're going to compare the two, and hopefully that'll give us a good idea of which tire is better, and if the Pirelli Scorpion ATR Plus is a suitable, cheaper option than maybe some of the others out there, like the expensive Toyos, maybe the Falcon Wild Peaks. Those are all more expensive tires. Even new, even though I got mine used, new, the Pirelli Scorpion ATR Plus tires are a little bit cheaper than the rest of the options. So hopefully they perform well. But we're gonna go ahead and head out for the day, and I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. We'll put it to the test and see how it does. Alrighty guys, day number 2, we're back out here in the exact same spot, and we're actually in the first spot with that first obstacle that we tried the other day when we still had the stock ATRs on. But today, the only difference is we have the Pirelli Scorpion AT Plus tires on the truck. And I gotta say guys, like visually just looking at these tires, it's like a whole new truck. It's honestly amazing like how much of a difference just a simple swap of tires can like really make this truck look. But more importantly than the visual aspect of this is going to be how well these perform compared to the stock ATRs that come on the FX4 package. I actually decided to keep it the exact same stock size that comes on the FX4 package with the ATR. So these are 225, 65, 17. Now I know you guys are probably asking, if you plan on doing any kind of off-roading, why wouldn't you size up to a larger or even a wider tire? Ultimately I decided that, you know, this is a Ford Maverick. We're not going to be doing any crazy off-roading in the first place. No matter how, you know, crazy a tires we put on this thing, there's going to be a limit to what we can do with it. It is a unibody design. You know, it's not really built for any crazy off-roading. And the other aspect of it that I had to take into consideration is a major factor that went into deciding to purchase this truck was the fuel economy that I can get out of it. And I want to preserve that fuel economy the best that I can. You know, on the highway right now, we're pushing 28 to 30 miles a gallon. And I really didn't want to compromise that too much. And going up with a larger size tire can really affect that. So ultimately, those are the 2 reasons that kind of led me to stay with the stock size, or at least start looking for a stock size tire. And then when I found these ones for $200 on Facebook Marketplace, I couldn't say no, and that's kind of what sealed the deal. So that's what we're working with these new tires. But with that being said, because these have a sidewall tread and they're a much more aggressive tread overall, they're actually considerably wider than the stock ATRs, even though they're technically the same size. I mean, visually you can see that they're wider, and I actually took a tape to it, and they are quite a bit wider, as well as just a little bit taller. So, you know, even though we stayed with the stock size, we still got a little bit larger overall tire than we would have with staying with that street style ATR. Now, the other aspect of this is going to be the truck itself. So I didn't go too in depth to it with the initial test because I knew I was going to talk about it after we swapped the tires on. But everything that we are doing with this truck is completely just, you know, bare bones, normal drive mode. These have the option for mud and ruts as well as sand and slippery modes. For the first test as well as the test we're about to do, completely normal drive mode, traction control turned on, not messing with any of that because I want the two tests to be as similar and as comparable as possible. Other things to take into account is the specific build on this truck. It is a completely bone stock FX4 XLT with the 2-liter Ecoboost. So it's all-wheel drive. It's got the FX4 package, so it's got a couple upgraded things from just like a basic Maverick. But for the most part, it's a pretty bare bones truck. We don't have any lift on the front end of this thing like a lot of people are doing. It's completely factory other than the tires. So that's gonna make a big difference, as well as the drive modes that we just talked about. So now that you guys kind of know the parameters that we're working with, let's go ahead and hop in the truck and get to this first test and see if it does any better than it did the first time. Before setting up the camera inside the truck, I decided to run a few tests through the uphill sand pit as well as the one around the corner just for fun, and the tires did incredibly well. Unfortunately, before I could finish filming the rest of this test, this guy decided to show up, and even though we were on public land and driving on very well-established trails with no signs indicating that we couldn't, of course, he had to find a reason that we couldn't be there, and he kicked us out. Luckily, before that happened, I still managed to get most of the footage that I needed, minus that in-cab shot, so we can still take a look at the two tires side by side and compare the differences and see how well the new one performs versus the stock Scorpion ATRs. You can really see the drastic improvement in traction even on this first tiny obstacle. I took it nice and slow through the sand to really make those tires work for it and had absolutely no issues even with the heavy wet leaves and thick wet clay. We had very minimal tire slip compared to the first test, with the only instance occurring here and only for a brief second. Once we got up the hill, we turned into the second deeper sand pit, and again, the tires performed great with very minimal slip and plenty of traction, even though I crawled through the sand even slower than the first time through on the stock tires. They did so well, in fact, that just for fun, I went the opposite way up and around the corner and definitely expected some loss of traction on this one, but again, they did excellent. Unfortunately, we had to skip test number 2 this time around due to that trail also apparently being off limits according to the FWC officer earlier in the video. Thankfully, I actually filmed test number 3 when we first arrived before filming test number 1, so we're still able to take a look at that one. We are going to come straight to the third test that we did, coming up the hill here and climbing up over this hump. And this is the one that we had some serious problems on the first time around. We made it over, but we were definitely slipping, having a lot of problems. So I'm gonna get the GoPro set up. Let's give it a go. Let's get this test out of the way, see how well these tires perform compared to the old ones, and we'll go from there. All right, let's give this a go, guys. I'm definitely like really interested to see how this goes compared to the Scorpion ATRs. I think it's gonna be a lot better, but we'll see. So we are coming up the hill right now. We didn't really have too much trouble on the hill the first time around either. And definitely no problems this time, so that's cool. And I'm just gonna kind of ease into it. Let's take it kind of slow. And oh, we're already over. We are already over the hump with really minimal slip actually. All right, so I set it down on the bottom. We're completely bottomed out right now like we were that first time around. And I did that on purpose because I want to make sure that we're not just powering over it. I really want to check it out and see how it goes. So we're definitely slipping and we're up. We slipped a little bit on that same front left corner of the truck that we did the first time around. But the 3 tires that did have traction in that deeper sand pushed us right up over it, even though that front one was on the super hard, you know, slippery, like it's like pavement with like dirt over the top of it. The other 3 tires dug right in and did a good job. So honestly, I'm impressed. That was pretty good, a lot better. Alright, so final thoughts on the Pirelli Scorpion All-Terrain Plus tire versus the ATR that comes stock on these FX4 Mavericks. I honestly really think there's no comparison, guys. The ATRs that come stock on these Mavericks are just, in my opinion, a horrible off-roading tire, and they should not even be branded as an all-terrain. Really, they're just great for street use, and that's about it. I think as we showed in this video, even the super mild off-roading that we even did, even those tiny little obstacles, you know, little sand pit, maybe a little bit of mud, some loose leaf debris climbing over anything bigger than a curb, really. They just don't perform, and even though that we were able to get over and through those obstacles, they definitely struggled. And I think anything more extreme than that, or even if you ran into like a little bit of like, you know, deep mud or water or anything, I think those tires would leave you stuck and you would have serious problems. The AT Plus tires, however, I gotta say, I'm very impressed. I'm even more impressed because I got them for only 200 bucks used, but they're definitely a worthy all-terrain tire, especially if you're still looking to maintain that fuel economy and you know, still get some good street use out of them. I'm really impressed with them, guys. You know, doing the same 2 tests that we were able to do in this video, they performed just significantly better. We had so much more traction, much less tire slip. We got through those sand pits with no problems whatsoever. We even climbed up over that, you know, that 3rd test that we did in the you know, the first set of tests. We climbed up over that one with the new AT Plus tires with no problems whatsoever. I do wish that we were able to do that 2nd test that unfortunately we weren't able to do because you know, for some reason we're not allowed to drive on that particular trail. But that 2nd test with the ATR tires proved to be you know, a serious problem for us because we had to climb up through that wet, loose grass as well as like all that sand and stuff, and those ATRs really bogged down. So I wish we could have run the AT Plus tires up that test. But you know, we did what we could, guys, and I think even what we were able to do still, you know, showed what I needed to show you guys, and really was a good test for, you know, the 2 tires comparably. As for the tread pattern on the AT Plus tires, I like it. It's obviously a lot more aggressive than the ATRs that come stock on the truck. It does a lot better, you know, in sandy and muddy and, you know, loose kind of grass and leaf type of off-road conditions like we showed today. But what I'm really impressed about is the sidewall tread on the All-Terrain Plus tires. It's definitely not a very aggressive sidewall tread, but it's a lot more than the ATRs have, which is 0. They have none whatsoever. And that sidewall tread proved to be very important, especially when we got into that deeper sand, as well as climbing up over, you know, that 3rd obstacle that we did. That sidewall tread really helps those tires grab and dig in. So rather than just sit there and spin, they actually have something to hold on to, and you know, you get more traction out of that, and it can really help you through those obstacles. Also, I want to mention too, because we went with a stock size 225/65 17 tire, you know, like I said earlier, I really thought about sizing up. I'm going with a wider tire or going with a larger tire, but I didn't want to compromise the fuel economy on this truck, which is one of the major reasons that I bought the truck in the first place. But with that being said, going with the stock size actual all-terrain tire that has some form of tread and some form of sidewall tread, even though it's the same stock size, you still get a slightly larger profile as well as wider tire out of it. And it's, you know, it's not only you know, visually obvious, I actually put a tape measure on it, and they are indeed a little bit wider. So definitely kind of a cool thing to keep your fuel economy, as well as be able to get that off-road tire that is still just a little bit wider, but still with those stock dimensions. And then of course the other part of that is going with a larger tire can also put wear and tear on your vehicle and prematurely wear it out. So things like your CB axles, even your transmission, if you go with, you know, a really large tire, you can wear those things out prematurely, and it can cause serious financial problems and mechanical problems, you know, down the road. So that's another benefit to kind of staying as close to stock as possible, which is one of the things that kind of led me to stay with a stock size tire. But even having the stock size tire on the truck still, having that extra tread and that sidewall tread makes all the difference. And then, you know, that kind of leads into my next point that I want to make, which is I'm very, very impressed with the Maverick so far, but these tests are really the first time that I've actually gotten to test out the, you know, how good the intelligent all-wheel drive system is on the Maverick. And we didn't even dive into any of the drive modes. You know, these have mud ruts, sand, slippery mode. You can, you know, manage traction control if you want to, and you can do all of that stuff with these trucks. We didn't even dive into any of that. We just used the intelligent all-wheel drive mode on completely normal with traction control turned on, and I am very, very impressed with how that drive mode worked. But with those stock ATRs, I feel that those tires really hinder the performance and the capabilities of the Ford Maverick. The second you put on, you know, even a slightly more aggressive tread, which is what we did in this video, you have so much more capability with this truck, and the possibilities, you know, just open up so much more to you. So it really makes it so much more of an off-road capable vehicle, just doing something as simple as upgrading the tires. So with that being said, guys, again, I am super impressed with how these tires performed. I highly recommend checking them out. I'll leave some links down in the description, as well as some links to my merch on Etsy if you guys want to support the channel. Links to my Patreon, as well as my Facebook page, will also be down in the description. Check all that stuff out, guys. But closing thoughts, overall, I really like the tires. I'm happy we made the switch, and I'm really excited for where this Overland build on this truck is going to go. This is only the first episode. In following episodes of this series, we're going to be doing the bed rack. I'm working on getting that on order right now. We're going to be doing a rooftop tent on top of that bed rack. We'll be doing the full install for all that stuff, and I actually have the tent sitting in the shed at the house here already, so that's good to go. We're going to be doing some off-road light installs on the front of the truck. I also am going to be doing some wheel spacers as well as the fender flares. Get that stance kind of figured out, get those fender flares on there, probably some DIY mud flaps. And then of course we're going to be building the bed out with the kitchen, some extra storage for all that camping gear, and then once it's all done, guys, we're gonna go do some family overland trips. You know, take little man Casey out, take the dogs, and do some good camping videos, as well as, you know, continue the fishing content that we're already doing on the channel. So if that sounds fun to you guys, I encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss any of it, and I look forward to having you guys follow along on these future adventures. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. So until next time, guys, thank you again, and I will see you on the next video.